not recorded. But all music is definitely either patterns that we sometimes recognize, or sometimes they're just so complex that even though they might be coming out from some sort of a mathematical function, we just don't understand what that mathematical function is, or you can derive it from a mathematical function. So most people understand music as patterns of sound, and there's various ways to make those patterns of sound happen. Uh, what we can try to explain, what we can try to uh, work with today is with a system called Jibber, which is built completely in the browser. It uses a language called JavaScript. JavaScript is a language which uh, pretty much runs everything on the web. So everything that moves around, or any sort of interactive things that are there in the browser, happen through JavaScript. It's a it's been around for a long enough time, and there is a technology called web audio which enables a bunch of these things. The great thing with Jibber is it lets you do all the fancy things with JavaScript and web audio without having to set up a whole bunch of things. It You can use the same code that you build in Jibber as part of your website, or as part of your work if you want to make for future landing. But you can just play with it and just have people do performances with it. There is a practice which at least Anushka and Akash here have also been active in, called live coding, where you literally code live in front of people. And we have done these events where we perform with code in front of people. I'm actually trying to look for the meeting code. Uh, if someone can just dictate that to me, I can join from this machine probably.
Meeting ID, no?
Yeah.
8818431559. That's the meeting ID for Zoom. This Zoom call.
Okay. And let's see. And meeting passcode.
It's 64982.
If I don't join audio with this, what happens? And if I share screen, okay. So of course, Zoom wants to die right then. Hopefully this should work. I'm going to drop in the URL that we are trying out in the chat. So if you can just open Chrome or any Chrome-like browser that you have. So something like Brave would also work. This also sort of works in Firefox, but I would recommend getting something like Chrome. If this all works for everyone, just give me a yes on the chat or whatever. And if you just click it once, it's going to change, and this thing is supposed to start. So if everything is on order, let's get that going. Is that all good for everyone? Just give me a yes on the chat.
Yes, works for me.
Perfect. All right. Cool. So you see a bunch of code in front of you. The easiest thing that you can do is just select all of it and delete it. I'm just going to increase my font size. Hopefully this is big enough. And let's try out making a very simple sound called cowbell. And we will trigger it. And with live coding and a bunch of these systems, generally the idea is you should have you basically evaluate a line of code. What does that mean? Normally, when you run a program on your computer, you go and click on the program, right? So that starts the program. Here we are running the program, and while we are running it, we are modifying the program. So to tell the system that you have modified something, you write your code, and then you press a keyboard shortcut. So in here, I should probably try to share my slides at the same time. Maybe that would make it better. If I can. Okay, so we'll try out a keyboard shortcut, which is Control Enter. And that should make us up. Is that good enough? Is that working for everyone? If yes, give me a yes on chat. Or even your mic, whichever is better for you. So in programming, you have an idea of what's called arrays. Arrays are basically, you could say, lists of a lot of values. So in Jibber specifically, you can use an array. So I've typed this trigger thing and this cowbell thing. Both of these are what are called functions in programming. And I'm going to use this trigger function, and I want to trigger this. As you can see here, I mentioned these square brackets, and these square brackets essentially are a way to represent arrays. I can, whoa, suddenly my language changed. And I can play this at a certain time. So in music, we generally divide our patterns into sections to create these patterns more easily. So I can divide this into 4 parts. And when I trigger this, it's gonna try to play that pattern. That did not happen. Did it? sorry, I forgot this part. So I had a trigger, and on the trigger, I'm using another function called sequence. What we're just doing right now is getting a handle on hopefully that worked for everyone. So we have cowbell, we have trigger, and we have sequence. So what we have just done right now is used a deterministic pattern. But what does a deterministic algorithm? What is a deterministic algorithm is something that we can essentially determine what's going to happen next. There are algorithms that you know what's going to happen, and there's certain algorithms that we sometimes use that do things seemingly on their own free will. It is sort of like a fake version of randomness, because essentially computers cannot make randomness happen. Jibber as a system itself can, by default, can make all of these sounds. So you can change this cowbell to any other function like this. So I'll try out kick. So whenever I do this, I play this by pressing Control and Enter, and I stop by pressing Control and period. Let me know if all of this is working for you. I'm guessing that the audience right now is has already used some of these things, so it wouldn't be completely new. So if I am going faster for anyone, please ask questions. Are we all good? Viranay, are you also trying these things?
I am, but nothing. I'm not getting any sound.
You're not getting any sound. Okay. Which one did you try? Did you try cowbell? Did you
I tried
try?
cowbell.
Okay. Did you make sure? Now we're doing programming, right? And computers are extremely dumb. So you have to type cowbell with a capital C.
I did that. One second, I'll tell you what I've done. And then I clicked enter.
No, you have to press Control and Enter.
Okay. Oh, okay. One second.
Yeah. I kind of skipped this slide because I thought, yeah, generally I keep this slide in there.
Oh, it doesn't click control. Is that on a Mac? It's control enter too? So command
It's
enter.
no, it's Control Enter on Mac as well.
What happened? Like nothing goes on to the next page.
Okay, does Shift Enter work?
No, nothing does.
Can we all share screens, or is it just
Okay.
me who can? I mean, your code is perfect. There's no problem with your code. Should I stop sharing? Do you want to just quickly show us what's happening?
I think on Mac it should be like Option and Enter, the Alt key, Alt and Enter.
Alt,
No, I've been using Control Enter and it's been fine.
really? Okay, one second. Let me share screen. Share screen.
Keith, is this working for you? Are you trying this? I know you are a musician as well, right?
So if I'm here,
Mhm.
it doesn't allow me
just
to go.
clear out the screen once. Let's just try this.
Like I just cleared everything.
Okay, now try. Yeah.
Now.
Oh,
okay.
you have an extra G in your trigger.
Oh,
As I said, computers
okay,
are
it
very
works.
dumb.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. I got it. Thank you.
Do you also want to try the sequence thing, which is
I mean, like trying to get this one while we've been on it. So why is this working?
yeah, which is why I like to go very slow with these things.
One second. What is the sequence one? I lost that because I was trying to.
I have put the whole code in the chat, so you can just pick that up.
Thank you.
So for the rest of you, you can just try out any of these other sounds. Try these out. Where did that go on?
Does it allow us to copy? Wait, let me just type this in.
Until receiving that. If anyone's facing any trouble, just please ask questions. Anushka, working for you?
Yes, it is. Sorry,
Priyanka?
I'm thinking.
Yes. Okay, got it.
Nice. So you can make these patterns as long as you want. So you can put more commas in there, more numbers in there. And you can press Control Stop to stop all sounds. Is Hassan still here? No.
In the start, he wrote that he's in a train, so the network for him is patchy. He would drop in and out.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
We didn't choose the best day for this, did we? Okay. Akash, you had mentioned something called Alt Enter, which is also something, let's get it out of the way. Essentially, the idea is that instead of pressing Control Enter, there is another shortcut in there called Alt Enter. And the difference between the two is basically that I can write the same bit of code like this as well. And to a computer, it doesn't matter much other than in specifically if you're using Jibber live, you have to press Alt Enter instead of Control Enter. So now if I press Alt Enter, it's going to do the same exact thing. So just as a basic idea, I am going to put in a hat in here. By hat, it actually means a hi-hat, which is, oh, there's lots of drums there. The one drum that closes and opens, the symbols that open and close, it's basically that. And I'm going to play that in and I can write multiple lines of code. So I can write kick and I can trigger this CQ. If this works for you, great. If not, please ask questions.
I only have one question.
Yeah.
If I delete any of these lines, that doesn't stop the sound, right?
Yes, that's a magic of live coding. So what it is doing is it's modified that program, but until you press shift and enter, it's not included whatever you've done as part of the change in the program.
Okay, so if I want to just stop one line, if I want to just stop.
We'll come to that. We'll
Okay.
come to that. Yeah. I'm just easing everyone in, so it makes sense for everyone who both who are programmers as well as who are not.
Just to make sense of it right now, these numbers 1, 0, 1 by 8, 1 by 2, and there's like I see animation also on the top, which is
Yeah.
Gibber going 4 times sliding. What's the correlation of numbers to like all of it?
So the 1 0 is basically here, that the 1 0 that's here essentially just means 1 means make a sound, 0 means don't make a sound. So Akash, you specifically work with modular synths, so you understand gates. So this is just I'm sequencing the trigger right now. The this thing that's running is just showing you 1 2 3 4, just a count of 1 2 3 4. So anything we do right now is running at the BPM or the beats per minute of whatever this is. We can change all of this. So essentially, we talked about everything. What most people understand music is patterns of sound in a certain time period. So most of these things run on a clock. So I can change the timing of the clock. So I can change clock BPM is equal to 140. And that would change the speed that this would run at. Anyone else has any questions about this? Because I can go, I'm basically trying to gauge should I go faster or slow or whatever. All good? Okay, cool. So coming to Anushka, your question. So in programming languages and in math, in algebra, essentially, Al-Khwarizmi, one of the major things he traveled with from India was algebra, which itself comes from the word algebra, which is what the title of his book that he wrote after coming from India. And you have these ideas of instead of writing a number, you will write maybe a letter which might represent that number or that idea of sort of transformations that you have applied to your another number. So I can take this and I can say h is equal to 1. Now, every time I need to write 1, I can, instead of writing 1, I can write h. Why this is handy in algebra is sometimes you will have a ridiculous number that, I mean, most people here would know, called pi. And computers don't exactly understand what pi is, but a bunch of very smart people have calculated these values. So this represents a very complex multiple digits on the decimal point. So many digits that we haven't even found out how many. So if we want to write pi, we can assign this to the name So pi is equal to 3.14 could be a thing. Now this, at this point in time, I've only put 3.14, but this actually goes on a lot more. And if I want to represent pi anywhere else in my code or calculation, I don't want to write the whole number. So instead, I would assign it to a variable. What that also allows me to do is, I can, for example, assign h to this whole thing, this hat trigger seek. And what that allows me to do is, I can now refer to the hat and change its pitch to, or is it not doing it? Did Jibber change it again? So this is still a system that is being made. It's been in alpha stage, as you can see in the name itself, quite a lot. So they keep changing the syntax of this. If you are going to build your own system on it, you will probably use one version of it, which you can make sure your codes don't break. But since they're still working out what's the best way to go about doing things, I think let's check. How do they recommend? Okay, maybe let's try this. So here we can see it is using the monosynth sound. So these were the sounds that we could make. So if I were to play this, let's just play this first, just to see what it sounds like. Okay, good enough. I can also make it play a note. So a musical note, I can specify what is that note going to be. So by default, it plays the middle C. So if you have a piano keyboard, it's going to play the middlemost C in there. I can go up, so I can put in 4 or 7. Or I can sequence this whole thing. So earlier we were only able to play one single sound in an even pattern, right? If we give monosynth a name called syn, then we can refer to this in syn.node.sequence, and then we can give. Earlier we were giving it the trigger a value of 1 and 0, 1 and 0. Here we are giving the note the value of 0 and 7, and it's running at this time. So we'll use some of the numbers that we had used earlier, and we do this. Now, notice every time I go here and I can change this while it's running, right? I can even make it run by itself for a long time and transform. And for it to be able to do that, I can even write multiple lines. Or this. So if I go here, every time you see I do this, I have to always start from the top, because if I press Control and full stop, Control and period, essentially what it does is it clears out everything in Jibber's memory. It just clears out. It's like a blank canvas. So even though it's showing the code in front of you, it doesn't remember any of this. So every time I have to go at the top, press Control and Enter for the first line, then this.
Abhinay, you're on mute.
Oh, oops, sorry. Yeah, if this is all working for you, let me know in the chat or just say it so that I know if we are going, if it's working for everyone. Viranga, how are you doing? No worries, Keith. Are you also following along? Is it working for you?
I'm just battling the internet right now, man.
Oh, right. Maybe I should make a shorter version of this for your recording.
Yeah, but I can go back. I'll have a look at this when we go back. And then, yeah, hopefully with a better, stabler connection, I can play around. That sounds pretty
Okay.
good.
I'm guessing some of these sounds are making somewhat sense to you. So 037 is just a minor sequence and this is a major sequence. So for all you musicians in there, essentially what we are doing is if zero is C on your keyboard, piano keyboard, one is C sharp, two is D. So 3 is D sharp. If it's not making any sense to you, don't worry. If you're not a musician, it's all good. You are in good company. I don't understand most of music theory myself, but computers seem to help me a lot in doing all of this. And that's why we use computers, right? But whoever is a musician here, you would understand that I was in this second line, I'm playing C, D sharp, and G. Let's just write it down. E. But if it's all good, we'll continue forward. I think we're good. No one said anything. I'm going to assume that's good. Okay. I mean, there's a lot you can follow just from the from this tutorial that's built into Jibber itself. What I'll just do is give you the highlights and essentially get you started. And this is something that you can explore for yourself further, because no point me going through this tutorial. One of the next bits of highlights I wanted to show was something called the Euclid function that's there in in Jibber. And this is something that is also uh, sort of going onwards from the deterministic and non-deterministic part that we were talking about, the way you can make music with computers. So this is one of the deterministic methods, but without having to specify what are the exact notes. So up until now, we have been doing things like kick, trigger. If I do this, I'm essentially using a very fancy method of playing a drum, right? So I could just go hit something and make the same thing happen. But with seek, sorry, with trigger.seq, I'm able to give it a set of values, and that's when things happen. But what if I wanted to do some more mathematical things and make that that be controlling the pattern itself? So Euclid was a very famous mathematician, and there is a bunch of great things he's done with geometry. And there's this one mathematician back in 2004, he discovered that a bunch of world music rhythms connect a lot with Euclidean patterns in geometry that he had discovered. So this is something that you might have heard in a lot of popular music. So if I go here and press Control and Enter, this whole pattern comes up. This is essentially the same as writing kick.trigger.seq and me having to put these brackets and write 1 0 0 1. So instead of having to do all of this work, I've just been able to write 3 by 8, and that gives me the same sort of pattern. So essentially, you might have been seeing, what I'll do is I'll just copy one of these. So by writing 3 by 8, 3 comma 8, what essentially it's doing is it's filling up 3 notes in a pattern of 8 sections. So it's just trying to figure out how can I fit 3 notes in this space. If I write 5, so it's gonna try to place 5 notes as equally as it can. Now, because if I just use something like 2 8, that's easy to divide into equal bits, right? But placing these is much more difficult. So which is why we get these sort of off-kilter patterns. And it has been identified that a bunch of world rhythms from all over the world have had have had some sort of connection with Euclidean geometry. So this is sort of a way of getting sort of mathematical functions and essentially being used to either pattern up your sound or modify that sound in unique ways. If this is working for everyone, just let me know in the chat. If there's any confusion, let me know.
What does the one mean, like the first parameter?
This parameter is essentially saying trigger this, switch the trigger on. So earlier we had to write this, right? This line, 101. So wherever there is a 1, it's going to put a trigger. Wherever there is a 0, it's not going to put a trigger.
All right.
So this essentially is saying, send a 1 to this thing, 1 to this thing, and on this sort of pattern.
So if we say 0, there's not going to be any sound.
There's just not going to be any sound.
Okay.
Yeah. But if we use something like this sort of sequence for something else, so let's try doing something ridiculous with something I have not tried myself, but let's try syn is equal to monosynth. Or let's try something else. There was something called pluck, right? Yeah. Let's try pluck. Let's trigger this. Okay. If we try to sequence this with a Euclidean pattern, let's try the usual one. So what essentially this did was just play, triggered that. Instead, if I change this to note, now I'm going to use the same patterning thing, but sending it to note. So instead of it playing note 0, which was simple C, it's going to play and we could take it further. We could give it a pattern like this. So we could go 0, 3, 7, 0. So in this line, it was playing 1, 0, 1 at 1/4 of a beat. So every time this would occur is when this would play, and then it would move on to the next one, and it would move on to the next one. If we play this, it's gonna play 1 with a 0. It's gonna play 3 with this. Sorry, this 0 with this. So we're gonna get a very cool sort of ever-evolving pattern, which is sort of almost getting to non-determinism, as we talked about, but it is kind of deterministic if we are able to calculate it, right? Hope this works for everyone. Okay, I'm going to assume it does. Okay, moving on to something, what are all we have been doing till now is using what are called synthesizers that are built into Jibber. Now, Jibber itself is built on a whole bunch of, as I mentioned, something called Web Audio. So it is itself built on another platform that the creator of Jibber made called Genish, which is a lot more complex, which lets you build your own synths. We won't go there right now, unless people are really interested in it. What instead we'll do is there is a library of sounds called Freesound. And this is a sort of library of, let's say, open source sounds that people are able to upload their sounds up there. And you can, anyone can just pull them in and use them. So let's say we want a bird sound. I can just go search in there and it's going to give me bird sounds. And we can go listen to these. That's kind of long, it seems. Let's try finding something smaller. Yeah. Oh, what is this? Cool. So we have found this sound. We like it for some reason. And we see there's a number in here called, which is mentioned in the URL. Let's just copy this. And we can go here and there's a function called Freesound. We can then mention this number and we can just write trigger. Whoops, did it not work? Did we change it again? I'm sure I'll be able to find it. Ah. Yeah, that's what it is. Ah, okay. This is what I was missing, I think. Is it working for everyone?
Nothing's playing for me either.
Did it just break? Okay, let's maybe it needs stuff to be assigned to a variable. Let's try this. Okay, that works. So we are able to do the same stuff that we were doing earlier. Let's try Euclid again. I mean, you could do crazy things with it. You can maybe let's try. Let me know as soon as this starts getting too irritating. So what it was doing up now is, so with note, essentially it tries to make the pitching of it happen in sort of a musical way. Whereas if we were to trigger it, we can trigger it at different speeds. Wait, sorry, what? No, sorry, it was at different rate. Cool. So I can give it a rate, and I can change that rate to something like. Hope this works for everyone. It's quite ridiculous, but I mean, that's what most artistic tools become like, right? The deeper you go, the more you practice these things, eventually you start finding the kind of things that are more aesthetic and fitting into the specific aesthetic you are going for. But you can explore this a lot. If there's any questions, please keep asking me, because I'll keep going forward, and I don't want people getting lost completely with this. Akash, you were asking about something with sign. So this is kind of for the
No, that was the comment because the birds sounded like modulated sign.
okay, like that. Okay.
Like that first
But
bird was like very fast LFO on a sign.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's try it though, right? Might as well. So we have pre-sound. We have trigger. We sequence this. We change the rate with an LFO. Maybe I should stop it and then come back to it. Sorry. So the way it, what all of this means essentially is what an LFO is. It's called a low frequency oscillator. Oscillators are things that generally mostly musicians use to create sounds, but it is something that I think, Anushka, you have used signs in your work. Essentially, it's the same sign, and here we are able to specify what is the limits of the sign, and then what speed it should be running at. So LFO, a low frequency oscillator, is basically causing some sort of oscillations. At what speed the oscillation should happen at? I'm bringing my hand down again and again because Zoom thinks I'm trying to raise my hand. I don't know how to disable that, but let's try these specific values and see what it comes up with, and we can modify it as we go along. So we had this sound, we modify it, and we can And this is the reason why I chose specifically Jibber as a tool, because if you saw that, maybe I can keep it running. Um, Whoa, it stopped running. Okay, seems to have broken just because I tried to appreciate it, but I'll come back. I'll just refresh my page. Uh, so it's basically showing me which way the LFO is going. It's showing me what is the uh, what is the lowest value it's going to. So it's going to 0.5 as the lowest value. Essentially, what it's doing is it's setting the rate at this speed. It's changing it from 0.5 to 1. So I can change the rate it's changing at. So now it's changing slower, and it's changing even slower. Hopefully this is making sense for people who are not programmers as well. If there is any question, please ask me. Okay, what the reason why I wanted to explore free sound itself was because of uh, I wanted to explore the idea and writings of an artist called Steve Reich. Um, Steve Reich is one of the most influential uh, musicians, composers of, I think, our generation, because a lot of the concepts that we use a lot in the kind of music that's being made right now were first kind of pioneered by him in a more mainstream sense, and he was criticized a lot for it. Uh, one of the one of his most famous compositions is it's called "It's Gonna Rain," and there's a very nice bit of writing he has written has put in, um, which I'm gonna put in the chat. And here he talks about the concept of music as a gradual process, of essentially playing the same thing for a long time and slightly changing things, and just through that he's going to it's going to modify what that bit of music feels like, what that big bit of sound feels like. So if I just have this, and I'm going to change it to play at 1 rate by default, I can take this and load this sound again. I'm gonna change just the rate by like a tiny amount. Let's try an even tinier amount. I'm going to attempt it again because I didn't exactly do what I wanted it to do. So just trying it out again. I don't know if it was audible to everyone here or not, but did you hear the change happen? Maybe let's try using a different sound. Any ideas? Just give me some bit of like some
I think the
Pro-
most perceptible would be a simple piano note. But I know
piano.
exactly what you're trying to do. But right now, when you executed it, it sounded more like chorus effect
Yeah,
rather than what these Reich and Cage did.
yeah.
But yeah, like the most perceptible sound is a piano note or like a note with equal harmonics, rather piano or a guitar string.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to specifically explore the rhythm more than anything.
Mm. So a snare hit, it has like nice mid range and all those things, or a Congo hit, like something in the mids.
I mean, I was trying to get at
So search hello then, voice hello.
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 Cool.
Hello. 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 hello, 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 hello.
So essentially, what I'm trying to maybe show you is the way it ends. That itself changes the rhythm of the sound. Maybe if I try to split it, play it back at a slower rate. So just discussing another keyboard shortcut in Jibber is Alt Enter. What that means is if there is contagious lines, if there's lines that go together instead of having gaps in them, and if you press Alt Enter, it's going to trigger the whole thing all together.
Hello. 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 Hello.
I think it's slightly more apparent here. It does, right? Yeah. What we can also explore here is there is patterns we can generate by moving the sequencing forward and backward. So this is possible with a Jibber by just rotating the pattern. So if I were to do this, now imagine I try doing this with the hello sound. Should I do it with the hello sound? Maybe, yeah, let us try it. I'm just going to do a basic sequence. It seems like it works better with rotations like this, with the Euclid type rotations. So
Hello. 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 Hello.
that got quite meditative for me. I could have let that run for a while. Do we have any questions? Or does this all make sense? Or it's completely alien and like this does nothing make sense? I'm totally going by what you guys feel, and essentially that's what's going to drive this forward. If there's nothing more, I don't have anything special to add to this, because these concepts itself will take you extremely far. I can put in some of the. There's this person who has explored a lot of these concepts in another system called Tone.js and like with web audio. So Terupa is a brilliant programmer who has done some very nice things for the algorithmic music on the web and algorithmic sound on the web. So I would recommend this bit of writing. He has also explored, in this specific article, he has explored Reich's and Eno's compositions, which have been the most mainstream implementation of these things in the past 40 years or so, I think, probably more. So yeah, questions if you have any.
You mentioned a system that allowed for people to make their own synths.
Yes.
Uh,
So are you interested in that?
yes.
Okay. So you could do some of these things inside Jibber itself. With there is a sign node and all of that that's there. But if you really want to go deep, 1 second, I will. Yeah, this is the system called Genish. I put the URL in the chat. And this essentially lets you kind of have like a modular synth built into the browser. If you want to explore some of these concepts in a more visual fashion, I mean, you could install a full-fledged app like VCV Rack, which is really popular in the community. It's free. You can expand, but the thing is, it doesn't work on the web. Genish will let you do those same things essentially in the browser. Maybe we could try to check out some Genish things. Do we want to do that? Or is that too deep? I wonder.
Let's do it. It's anyways just two of us, Anushka and me. I think rest all have left, and yeah, rest is ghost.
I don't know whether it's my internet or just Jibber is being a little iffy.
No, I think your internet's fine. I can like hear you okay.
Mhm.
When you say in a more visual sense with VCV Rack, like, can you elaborate on that? Like, what
So
is
basically, yeah. So like we're writing code here to try to do things, whereas VCV will let you connect things
right,
physically.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just trying to remember where the link is. I seem to have misplaced it. Just 1 second. I thought I'd put it in my slides, but it doesn't exist there.
What are you searching? VCV Rack link.
Not VCV. There is another system I just happened upon, and I've been playing with for a bit. That makes this all work in the browser. And you can essentially connect things and work with that. 1 second. One second. Let me just stop sharing and then get back to this. It's called Noise Craft, I think.
I tinkled upon like a library called Modular. It's a web audio doodle.
Okay. Check Noisecraft out. Yes, Noisecraft is good. So this is something I was trying out. Essentially, what I've made here is a very simple subtractive synthesizer. Uh, you can have modules which you can connect and very basic modules. So I want a basic sine wave happening. I can get sine and I can connect it to my output. I think it needs all this. Is it just me? Okay, something happened.
You're trying to play 5 hertz.
Or is it?
Yeah, the knob is 5, so that means 5 hertz is being outputted. So yeah, make minimum 100 maybe.
Good. You can go as complex as you want. So right now I'm just doing this. This is a little section I had made for we described an LFO in Jibber. So this is kind of the LFO that can work in this sort of system. One second. Okay, yeah. Uh,
But a random question, is it the web audio or is it this app specific Noisecraft? Like I see on the scope, everything is in the positive phase, but triangle sign, they all should have like minus and plus both.
it
Whatever
it
you're
does
playing,
use the
everything.
web audio API. It
It's
does use the basic web audio API.
okay, so it has to do with the. Oh, okay. But web audio does give you like a proper positive phase and the negative phase both.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it does. But you can DC it. If you want
Oh, Abhinay, I think you're muted.
Whoops. So that I was saying that I understand it's just the two of us here who are doing this, but Akash, I mean, you understand these things already, and Anushka, I can explore this further separately for you if you want to go deeper into this. You can do most of these things inside Jibber. You can do most of these things inside another system called Tone.js. So I think that it's better if we keep that as a separate thing, or whoever wants to do another longer session or a deeper session, because yeah, I essentially did not know who we were making this for, this whole workshop. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Keith, are you here? Priyanka, are you here?
Yes, what's happening? Sorry.
No, I mean, essentially, I don't think so. There's much more that I can add to this. I can take it forward with both of them deeper, but essentially, in this is all I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, it covers all the concepts that we wanted to cover.
Looks pretty cool, man. I think the whole workshop took me. I was for the longest time trying to get my internet up and down, but
Mhm.
definitely something really cool I'm gonna check out. I'll plug it in after, like, once you're done, I'll check out the recordings and go through it.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
have
funky sounds, really
recordings.
funky sounds in the middle.
Yeah, with the recordings, I would say that maybe chop them down a bit, because there's a lot of pauses in making, sure the
Yeah.
concept coming through and whatnot.
Yes.
I can make like a shorter version of this if you want, and like a recording of it.
Awesome. Yeah, I can send you guys the link and maybe from my end also, or you could chop it up if you like. See
Cool,
what parts you
perfect.
want.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it from me.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Do you have any questions, anyone? We can always reach out to Abhinay and take this forward. I'll be anyway reaching out to you, Abhinay, in a few days.
Sounds good. Yeah. We
I
have
backed out of like all the of being actively part of the coding part of it, but I've been listening because I've been like between RT-PCR tests and this, so I lost count somewhere.
no,
But it
I mean,
sounds-
like,
it looks so exciting too. I've been like, wait, what happened right now in these 1 or 2 minutes that I was away?
yeah. No, I mean, it's a small enough group that you can just hit me up with questions whenever you.
I will. This is fascinating, really.
Are you traveling to Goa yourself?
Sorry?
Are you going to travel to Goa yourself now?
Am I going to travel to Goa?
Yeah.
No, I'm like, right now I'm just hoping that I don't test positive when I take my test now. But I'm hopefully going to Kathmandu rather than Goa if I manage to if I'm not quarantined.
Yep. Makes sense. So yeah, hopefully this was useful. I don't know how useful this was for Akash, but there's still a lot to explore.